they win.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Hike the damn ball! I suppose we don't have a quarterback.
I'm picking up your sarcasm.
Well, I should hope so, because I'm laying it on pretty thick.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Steel Sanctuary Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Rivero from SteelSanctuary.com. I'm here with Bob Quinn, and Tony Serino makes his return to the Steel Sanctuary Podcast. Tony, how's it going?
I'm good. I just want to get this out front for anyone who's watching this. I'm not coming out of retirement. Don't get any wrong. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm here like one time only. I talked to Dave. We talked during the draft. And yeah, I figured, hey, you know what? I have some things to say about this draft.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Awesome. We'll talk you into unretiring before the hour's over. Anyway, all right. So give us your takes on the draft. You haven't really been on a podcast lately, so what did you think?
No, I loved this. I loved this draft, but it has really more to do with the players and the things that they didn't do more than what they did do.
Okay.
So for you guys, right? After that Ravens game, that was like the darkest timeline. The getting blown out by Baltimore in that playoff game was a pretty low point for me. And you guys know I left podcasting because I wanted to be a fan and I wanted to just enjoy it. That was a low point. And it felt like it was a low point because what is the path out of here for the Steelers? Like, what is okay, now that this happened, well, they're going to have to retool. Like, we know this team is not going to want to rebuild. They're not going to go into we're going to go into tank mode and we'll figure this out in a couple years. Like, this team's going to continue to reload. What I love about this offseason, though, is they've been pretty hesitant about adding a whole bunch of talent this year because they seem to have their eyes on a quarterback next year. And they didn't do anything in this class to screw that up. Like, they didn't take Shador. They didn't trade away any more picks. They kind of stayed put, addressed the needs that you have immediately, but didn't reach like they did 3 years ago in Kenny Pickett. They didn't do that for Shador. They didn't do that for Jackson Dart. There are rumors they wanted to move up back into the second round. I love that this team seems to me, based on what they've done this offseason, they have a plan. That plan is we are going to address quarterback in 2026. That's supposedly going to be a very good class. And who knows, could get worse, could get better. Maybe 27's the real class, whatever. It seems to me, Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney actually has a plan, which is we're going to have to address this thing by getting a quarterback. And so we're not going to reach on that. We're going to get the guy we like. Maybe that guy is Drew Allen, or maybe it's someone in next year's class. But that to me was the number one thing I came out of this, which was thank goodness they're finally being patient. It's not they get so tunnel vision. This organization gets so tunnel visioned on we have to be competitive every year. And they're still going to be competitive this year. Like Aaron Rodgers will come in and they'll be fine. But that's the thing I come away from this class feeling the best about is that at least I see a long-term vision now for how we get out of this kind of mess that they've been in for the last, this kind of malaise that they've been in for the last 3 or 4 years.
I agree with you on everything you said. I mean, there is a plan. We were all nervous that quarterback was going to go number one in this draft for the Steelers. The rumors were crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought it might have been Milroe. I was convinced it was Milroe leading into the draft. I thought they were smoke screening us with Sanders, and they were going to sneak Milroe in on us and just kill us. So I'm with you 100%. I'm glad they didn't do that. Yeah. I think the tunnel vision kind of works against them too, though, because I think Mike Tomlin's just like you. I don't think he slept a night since that Ravens game. I think he's been up, and I think this is a bit of an overreaction to that loss and just gearing up. We have to beat Baltimore. And I was telling these guys, so, okay, that's great. You've addressed that. Now what happens if, Josh Allen, cuts you up for 400 yards? Are we going to go draft 6 DBs next year? I mean,
well, I think, okay. I heard you guys say this. This is part of the reason I wanted to come on, because I heard you guys say this. And I was like, wait, okay, I understand. First of all, 2 things. Number 1, I don't know if you can overreact to getting the absolute, can I swear on the show?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
They got the shit kicked out of them by Baltimore. Okay. They got the shit kicked out of them by Baltimore. And it was an embarrassing fashion, 200 yards. I don't know if you can overreact to that. You have to, I've always grown up on the idea that if you want to be a good football team, the first thing you have to do is to win your division. Right. And so this team does have to get past Baltimore, and they can't, they got bullied and not just by Baltimore. They got bullied by Philly. Like those last 3 drives against Philly, like 12 play drive, 14 play drive, 20 play drive. This team is built right now to be a great defense, but they're kind of soft up front. And that's what we saw. Like as the year progressed, and I said this at the beginning of last year too, like when I came out of retirement at the beginning of last year with my Not a Podcast, like I was saying, this defense is a little smoke and mirrorsy. Like they're not dominant. They should be dominant. They have the talent to be dominant, but they're kind of not. And the reason why they weren't really truly dominant is that like we talk about TJ had a bad year last year. TJ was still getting double teamed and chipped on every play. That should be opening up things for the rest of, guys like Larry Ogunjobi, who is a like true see ball, get ball guy, should be flourishing in that moment because he's not seeing double teams. He's constantly one-on-one battles. And yet, that never happened, right? So we blame it on TJ. TJ, you got to be the guy. But really, TJ should be opening it up for everyone else. And so the thing that I disagree with you guys on, like this is an overreaction, is I think in order to have a great defense, it starts with you have to have at least a good. You don't have to have a great, but you have to have a good defensive line. You cannot be soft up front. And so I agree with Tomlin and the crew of like, we have to get more physical up front. And Derek Harmon will do that. I don't know that Derek Harmon's like a home run pick. I think he's like he's like these high floor type guys. Like he'll peak out to like, he'll be a good player. He has long arms, he's a strong dude. But I just think like this team, if the way that they're constructed right now, they're going nowhere if they don't get beefier up front on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. The one thing about the defensive line, though, if you look back, really since Tuitt, they haven't had somebody to go. I mean, they brought in Ogunjobi, who they thought would be. They drafted Benton, who looked like he might be, but didn't have a great year last year. I still don't think they used him as much as they needed to use him. And then they just got a bunch of Loudermilk and Montravius Adams and all these other guys that are they're just guys. So I do think you're right. They tunnel vision focused on the defensive line, and they forgot about, hey, what if this receiver falls? What if this running back falls? What if this guy comes into view? I think it was smart to hold back on quarterback, especially the way the draft shook out. It basically turned into the Kenny Pickett draft again, with the Giants trading up for Jackson Dart. But otherwise, nobody went to the third round. So it's awesome that they held back on quarterback. I mean, I don't love Will Howard, and if we got him in the fourth, I'd have been disappointed. Getting him in the sixth, I'm fucking happy. I mean, you could have done a lot worse in the sixth round. You could have picked, and I like Shador, but if you'd picked Shador in the third, looking back at this draft,
I would have lost.
You would have made a monumental mistake because he was falling. I think they should have picked him in the fifth. I think they would have picked him in the fifth if Cleveland didn't trade up and draft their 14th quarterback for the roster.
Yeah. The Cleveland draft is an absolutely wild one, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. I think
we're gonna get to that.
For me, going back to the first round, like that first round pick, yes, I think they were I think they did come into this like wanting a D lineman. I think they do this a lot. We've seen this in the past. The Artie Burns pick is probably the worst case scenario of this. They were so tunnel visioned on like, we are going to come out of this draft with a starting caliber corner, that when William Jackson went off the board, they're like, I guess Artie Burns then. And everyone's like, no, not Artie Burns. No. He's not a first round talent. No. I do think in this class though, like Harmon, to me, I had no problem with the Harmon pick because he was the last of the top tier, but he was a top tier D lineman guy. And also I think it's hard because we don't know where Harmon was on their board, right? He was the last of the tier 1 guys taken. That doesn't mean he was last on the Steelers board. He could have, for all we know, he could have been number 1. I doubt he was ahead of Mason Graham, right? But he could have been 2, 3. He could have been anywhere on that list. So like, I'm okay with them taking D-line because look, if the bottom ever falls out of Cam Hayward with where this roster is right now,
that's a great point.
The defense is going to go it's going to be that Baltimore game we saw last year won't be like a once in a blue moon type situation like that. That's kind of who this defense is if they can't dominate up front. And the other thing is, we talk about what happens with Josh Allen throwing 6 touchdowns and Joe Burrow and all that. Like when this team this team has beaten Josh Allen. Like they beat Josh Allen in an opener like 3 years ago. When they embarrassed Burrow, what was that, 2 years ago in the opener? That game was a dominating performance by the Steelers up front, right? That kind of set the tone for Burrow kind of being on his back foot all day, hearing footsteps, getting rid of the ball too quickly. He threw, 5 interceptions in that game? But a lot of that was like guys bearing down on him, taking too many sacks, wanting to get rid of the ball, and then throwing those interceptions. So again, I think this team being able to dominate up front sets the tone for everything else they want to do. And so I'm glad they are recognizing that on both sides. Like, this team started this rebuild by taking Najee Harris instead of rebuilding the offensive line. Yeah. I'm glad that, like, if this is the start of the next, Steeler defense, like, start at the trenches and then work your way out rather than starting out and working your way in. Like, oh yeah, by the way, if we're going to fix the running game, we probably need an offensive line in order to do that. So happy again. I have no problem really with the Harmon pick. I really have no problem with any of the picks in general. The Will Howard thing, like you talked about, 6th round. I don't care. Who you take in the 6th round to me? Like,
yeah, right.
By that point, cool. Take flyers on whoever, Carson Bruner. I think they were contractually obligated to take a guy.
Yeah, I think that.
What'd you think about the Jack Sawyer pick?
Okay, yeah, you guys were really critical of the Jack Sawyer pick, and I don't disagree. He is a weird prospect to take. I think this is the problem of having Nick Herbig on the roster, right? This is the problem of Nick Herbig being as successful as he is, which is Nick Herbig is a great specialty pass rusher. He is also the first guy off the bench when a guy like TJ needs to take a series off or Alex needs to take a series off. He's the first guy off the bench. He also doesn't really defend the run, like, at all. Nick Herbig's not setting the edge. And so they've really prioritized this the last couple of years. Like, last year they made that trade for Preston Smith. They brought in Jeremiah Moon. Like, they've really prioritized 4th and 5th edge rushers. I think because they know at the end of the day, Nick Herbig is going to see the field. Like, we know Nick Herbig is going to be out there. But if you're going to prioritize Nick Herbig, then you also need to prioritize another guy who can be better against the run. And that's where I think they feel like Jack Sawyer can fit in. Now, I probably disagree. I've watched some Jack Sawyer. I think the size of Jack Sawyer is a problem for me because, like, have you seen the lower half of his body, like his legs?
Yeah.
He's very stiff.
I don't know. He's like, I don't know. He may work better in theory than he will in practice.
Right.
I like the idea of a high motor guy who's like, super leader and like, he has that want to. Physically speaking, I don't know that he's going to be this like dominating run defender that they hope he can be. Or like, who was it that was saying the linebacker coach came out there was like, yeah, he's going to set the edge for us. And like, we love him so much for that. Is he though?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Not to beat a dead horse, but the biggest problem I had with that pick is he's at best a backup to your edge because you're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
And in the 4th round, I think you could have still got a corner who could come in and challenge a receiver or somebody like that who would be okay. I could see this guy being the 3 receiver set. I could see this guy being in the nickel package. I could see this guy really helping out when TJ wants to walk off the field, or if any last year's any indication, all 3 of them are going to get hurt.
Right.
So yeah, an upgrade. I totally get it.
You're right though. This guy like Jack Sawyer caps out to being a rotational guy at best, right? And I think I'm with you. Like, this is a team that still had. Like, you could pick a wide receiver for the future. I don't know if this team's re-signing George Pickens. So what is the long-term future at wide receiver? 4th round's a great spot to take. Like, hey, let me take a flyer on a guy who maybe he could turn into the replacement for Pickens long-term. Slot corner, another one, right? I think, absolutely. Safety is another position where, like, hey, maybe you throw a safety out there again and see, this team seems to be so dead set on having these 3 safety sets. Is that 3rd safety going to be kind of a 1-year guy every year, just like they're doing with nickel right now? Maybe, but I would rather see this team go out and get a guy in the 4th round who could turn into, someone who's more of an every down type player rather than Jack Sawyer, who's going to be like a 15, 20 play guy a game, maybe.
And I do think Sawyer's going to be an okay player. It's the position more than the player that, although, you watch him. There's a reason. I mean, he started out in the 1st round, then he went to the 2nd, then he went to the 3rd. And by the time the box came around, I feel like they maybe overdrafted him just a little bit, but that 4th, 5th round was.
I saw him a lot in the 2nd round. Like, they had a 2nd round value on some. So I think they actually got value. I I don't know how you rank him a second round prospect because I don't see it. I don't know where he makes any kind of impact. Like he's a rotational guy.
Is that scoop and score in the playoff? That's
He
what
did have a run
Noah
in the playoffs. He did.
Yeah.
He definitely did.
Also, there is some merit to like if he's a true locker room guy, as much as they say like guys want to rally around him. Like there is a room for that kind of guy on the roster too. Yeah. Again, I don't know that I'm taking that guy like a locker room glue guy in the 4th round. Like that's a real reason why I'm I don't think he would. Again, I think value wise, I'm fine with it in the 4th round, I guess. But again, we're talking about a team that does have. What about another O lineman just from depth perspective? Like one of the things that I'm most surprised by the way that they went and constructed this roster this offseason. They didn't bring in any real, unless I missed something. Did they bring in competition for McCormick at right guard, or are we just
no?
They're just
this is Calvin Anderson's their big offseason. And he's just bringing him back.
Spencer Anderson is competition.
I guess.
You're right. Spencer, they were pretty happy with Spencer last year, so yeah, I could see that.
Dave's here. What's up, Dave?
What's up, Dave?
What's up, boys?
Good to see you.
Let's switch gears to Caleb Johnson because he was probably my favorite pick of this draft. I mean, I think they lucked out that he was still there in the 3rd to add. I think he's right up there with some of those backs that got taken in the 2nd round. I know the 40 time people have kind of knocked him on that, but you watch him on tape, he plays faster than 4.57.
It is an interesting thing that because like who tweeted? Was it Dale Lolly's the one that tweeted like, hey, he's actually run 22 miles per hour on the GPS or whatever. So like
somebody else brought that up.
Yeah, someone brought that up, right? It is interesting that we even do the 40-yard dash because now everybody like we can do this. We have chips in the pads. We can measure your true game speed. I don't need to watch you like in a t-shirt and shorts, run out. Oh, am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I hit the wrong button by accident. I was trying to message Dave. He's sideways.
Yeah. Why am I sideways? That's
Dave, you are sideways. Your phone, I think, maybe turned you sideways or something.
We're starting to think it's intentional.
I'm on my iPad and it never did this before.
That is wild. I think the Caleb Johnson thing, I like the pick. I mean, I think first of all, he fits so well with an Arthur Smith. Like he's an outside zone runner. That's all Arthur Smith wants to be able to run. I do love the analysis of people saying he's Najee 2.0. I do have one thing to say he's Najee 2.0 guys.
No.
Even if he is Najee 2.0, Najee would have been way better as a 3rd round pick. In fact, Najee as a 3rd round pick has a totally different career. We think about him differently as a player. If he was a 3rd round pick, it's the same thing like Terrell Edmonds, right? Just overdrafted. I don't think he's the same kind of player though. I think he's he has better vision. I think Caleb has better vision. One of the things that Najee that I didn't realize coming out of college, Najee he didn't have the best vision of any running back.
No, he did not.
I like Caleb. I like the idea of like splitting carries between him and Jalen. I like the way that they've positioned the entire running back room. Like I like Gainwell as that kind of 3rd down, change of pace style guy. I think they can really go kind of 3-headed monster there a little bit. And we don't have to necessarily fall victim to the Cordell Patterson reps anymore, which I'm pretty sure we're all. Are you guys done with Cordell Patterson yet?
We were done with him week 7, week 8. We were done with him.
Okay, good. Because holy
How is he still on this roster? How is he still on this roster? I don't understand. What value does he bring to this team?
Because Arthur Smith is not quit. I mean, he can't quit him.
That must be it.
Yeah.
We joke around. He's got pictures of Mike Tomlin or something because at this point, he brought in to be a kick returner, can't return kicks.
Right.
Barely even contributed in the running game. So it's like, what do you have? 2 good carries the whole season?
He did have a great catch in the end zone of the 2nd Baltimore game.
He did.
Yeah.
I remember.
Well, and if they go on to win that game, then of course, okay, all is forgiven. But nevertheless.
He's got to. I would think they have to cut him before training camp.
I don't know about before. They'll probably bring him. You got 90 guys to play with. If they
what other running backs do they have? Right, because they're gonna bring. What other running backs do they have besides Gainwell, Warren?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Caleb Johnson. Did they bring in an undrafted?
No,
running
back?
They did not.
They did not.
Interesting. Well, then
Cordell
Patterson. The fullback.
Oh yeah, the fullback.
One. We think he has a chance to make the roster.
I think he does. I think they've been looking for a fullback for 3 years. Maybe this is finally the guy.
I agree. I think he could. I think, especially now that Cam Hayward seems to be on the way out, or Connor Hayward seems to be on the way out because they got Parham or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
I could Yeah, I think this fullback may stick.
All right, what about Yaya Black? What do we think about him? I mean, definitely a big dude. Yeah, I did it again. I did it. We just talked about it before we got on.
You did.
Black.
I had to try and get the pronunciation because I know I'm going to screw this up. Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was interesting that when they drafted him, I thought, oh, a nose. I like the pick. Like, yep, of course, we're addressing that D line again. Like, let's build a rotation here. You know, kind of the Eagles style. Then Carl Dunbar went and talked about him, and I was like, nah, I like him as a 5. We're gonna move him to a 5, and we're not moving him. Like, we love Benton at the 1, Cam or Yaya at the 5. I don't. That bothers me a little bit because like he's clearly got the body style of a more of a nose in this defense, but I guess they love Benton there. I don't love Benton there. I would love to see Benton go back out, play more of the 5.
I agree.
Rotate there. Now you have a true rotation of 3 guys who are all going to be doing that. Keep Benton's nose reps to a minimum so you can keep him fresh on those more passing downs, or at least just keep him fresh in general. So I'll be interested to see. Like, this is one of those picks where I'm cautiously optimistic because I think it's the right pick if he's a nose. If he's not, then as we get into camp, I'm going to be sounding like alarm bells. Like, what are we doing? Because I don't think he makes the roster as a 5. Like, I legitimately think like this could have been a wasted pick because that's another logjam position. Like, they have a ton of D linemen. I know we all don't like Loudermilk, but like Loudermilk has a chance to make the roster again. Logan Lee has a chance to make this roster. They have Dean Lowry. They brought in the guy from New England, right? I mean, like, you want to talk about a team just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. Like, that's what the Steelers have done this offseason. It's like, we're just like, we're going to find 7 guys out of these 20 that we're bringing in. And I could see not being there if they're playing him out of position.
And the whole thing you talked about, which you're absolutely right about, the 300-yard game against Baltimore, who was one of the main culprits? Keanu Benton was on the nose getting washed out on every other play. What are they watching? That they think he's the answer at nose?
Yes. Well,
sometimes
they have a lot of problems. Like, I do think
Joby isn't here anymore too.
Yeah, Larry O was a problem. Larry O is always a problem in run defense.
Yeah.
Always was a problem in run defense. Massively overrated there. Speaking of massively overrated, I mean, we don't have to get into this, but like PQ was another one.
Yeah.
Being that this is the first podcast I've been on in 2 years, I do want to say,
let it loose, Tony. What do you think of Patrick Queen?
Damn, I was right about PQ. I was all the way right about PQ forever. I used to mock Ravens fans endlessly about how bad PQ was. And then the Steelers signed him last offseason. And I'm like, all right, I'll see what I can do. No, he sucks. I'm sorry. Like, that was a massive overpay. And he sucks. He straight up sucks. For a guy who's paid, I believe, top 5 in his position. The thing about PQ, I always knew he was not an instinctive player. People say he's instinctive because when there's no misdirection and he can see the play, he is a see ball, get ball defender. Mm-hmm. But when you run any misdirection, PQ is chicken with his head cut off. I got no idea what I'm doing or what I'm seeing. And the other thing about him that I really hated about this season, and I hate using this I hate using this word about football players because obviously it's not true. But like, for a football player, he's kind of soft too. Like, the other thing is he's kind of soft. He gets washed. You want to talk about a guy that gets washed out or wants to avoid contact too often? I'm sorry, PQ. Like, when we're paying you $11 million a year, I'm gonna need you to take on the guard and not,
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they drafted 4 defensive linemen, just to protect Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
Hey, just going back to running back real quick, 2 guys we kind of forgot about that they did like last year in the preseason. Aaron Shampkin and Jonathan Ward are both still on the roster.
Okay.
So they've got options beyond Cordarrelle Patterson. I saw somebody mention Nick Chubb. Look,
you can't now.
I loved that guy when he was in Georgia. I tolerated that he was really good at Cleveland. Man, he's washed. He's washed. That
injury killed him.
Yeah, he wasn't the same. He just wasn't.
Yeah,
running backs out there.
If they don't get Caleb Johnson, I do think Nick Chubb would have been the signed yesterday. Like, that would have been the pick.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, they're done with running back. Once they drafted Caleb Johnson, they're done. They're not going to bring another guy in.
Yeah. The only question now is, do they re-sign Warren or do they just Like, we're going to do this split backfield thing this year with Caleb, but is Caleb the long-term bell cow? Like, is Tomlin still going to do the bell cow thing with Caleb? Or is there a world where they could spend money at running back? Because you don't have to spend a ton on Jalen. I don't think Jalen's getting 10 a year, right?
Yeah.
No.
So you could spend a little money on Jalen and then do the split backfield.
Some are speculating this is Warren's last year with us. They're going to go full KJ.
Can I give you a hot take?
Sure.
Caleb Johnson's running back 1 by week 4. And you're not going to see much of Jalen Warren.
I think
Tomlin loves this guy. I could just tell.
Well, I'll hot take your hot take and say I don't think Jalen ever starts. I think Caleb starts day 1.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Jalen a lot. You guys know I'm a Jalen Warren guy. I love Jalen Warren. But
are you aware this is a moving train? The Steelers offense and rookies cannot jump on a moving train,
except when you're one of Tomlin's guys. Then there's an exception for the rule. If he likes
That's
you, you're
in. That's a wild
in.
take.
Yeah,
TV Skater, not digging it.
I'm telling you.
I feel like it's going to be 55-45. I heard that a lot. And Steelers with rookies. The beginning of the year, I think you're right about Caleb getting the majority of the carries later in the year.
Yeah.
But I think initially the first 3 or 4 weeks, that's what Jalen will get is prove it.
Yeah.
Didn't Najee get all the carries right off the jump?
Well, they kind of had no choice.
Well, I mean,
there was nobody else in the room, right?
Yeah. They're going to hand the ball to Anthony McFarland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think, Benny Snell wasn't
Benny Snell.
Benny Snell.
Benny Snell football, baby.
Yeah, who were the running backs pre-Najee? I've memory hold that.
Connor.
That was
James Conner, right?
Connor was off the team. So who else was on the roster besides Najee that year?
I think it might have been Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland.
I think it was
Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. Right?
Yeah, I think it was.
God, that's a good question. There
What a
had to
room.
be another guy besides that.
Yeah, so I do agree. I think someone in chat said Warren is needed for third and long for pass protection. I actually agree with this take in general, which is Caleb won't start if he can't pick up pass protection, which is one of his weaknesses at Iowa, because he didn't get asked to do this a whole lot. Obviously, Iowa football, they're not throwing the ball. So he didn't get asked to do this a lot. You'll know in training camp when we get to those backs on backers, if you start hearing reports of like Caleb's struggling in backs on backers, me and Dave were way off on when Caleb's going to start. Way off. If he excels there, because that was where Jalen made his mark in that first camp. That's like one of the reasons why Jalen Warren ended up making that team. Is not only was he an explosive runner, that dude dominated backs on backers like 2 days in a row, and kind of set a tone of like, I'm here. So Caleb's gonna have to do that as well.
Did anybody see the picture of a Marion Hampton on Twitter where it looked like Jim Harbaugh was a little kid shaking?
He's a monster, dude. I think that's out of focus or something. Something's not right with that picture because I was like, Jesus Christ.
It's that fucking AI shit or whatever. I'm telling you, that shit's evil.
I don't know. It's like dude. that picture of Jimmy Carter and his wife with like, if you've ever seen that one where it literally looks like they're like tiny, like it's a what my brain has still never processed that photo. I agree. The O'Marion Hampton thing is the exact same thing. Yeah. Also, speaking of O'Marion Hampton, can we have a moment of silence for Najee Harris? Because boy.
We did that night on the draft right away. I think it was Bob just said, "Oh, geez, Najee's cooked now." It just
got the over-ender on Najee starting as one game.
Yeah. Yikes.
He is what he is. He's a couple carry.
They'll see Hampton in preseason. They'll be like,
Don't they still have Gus Edwards too?
They might.
I don't know.
I think they do.
I think you could arguably say O'Marion, Gus, Najee is the rotation.
Damn.
Where's our guy? Bob hates Najee. You should put that. Hashtag that because you're not a Najee fan at all. I mean, I was hard on Najee when he got drafted, but I'm not as bad as
Gus Edwards is better than Najee though.
Gus Edwards is better than Najee is a hot take. That is a hot take. I'm processing it.
All right, we got to discuss Will Howard. Anytime a quarterback's drafted, even in the 6th round, Dave's in love. He's his eyeball. He's just
I saw this
over the moon.
Dave, you watched the John Gruden thing, right?
Yeah.
If you watch that John Gruden thing and you don't come away with like, holy shit, I love Will Howard. This is the dude. Like they got the guy. Like that's what. But I do think John Gruden is the best at like marketing a quarterback.
He
can
really
watch.
is.
I could watch like John Gruden talk poetic about Nate Peterman for 30 minutes and be like, you know what, guys, we got to bring Nate Peterman back. Like,
He really does, man.
Yeah,
he can really shine the shit.
He has a great way of like,
look, dude. I'm watching this, and he's pointing out all these things, and he goes, "You're the next Josh Allen." I did like the Hulk Hogan where he spins the hand in. I'm sorry, what the hell did you just say?
Oh my God.
What? I was like, we got Josh Allen in the 6th round? Holy shit. And then and there's so many stats. My brain just like, it overloaded my brain with positive stats about him. I was just like, oh my God, this kid's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was going to ask, what? Look, I get the whole thing with the Gruden, and there's still a lawsuit pending. But of all people, Mike Tomlin, who got was close with John Gruden, why doesn't he bring him in as a consultant?
I ain't going near that.
I thought it would happen. I actually thought that would happen.
He ain't going near it.
I swear his ego won't allow
10
it.
camps this past year. He's like a roaming consultant right now.
Tomlin wants yes men as coaches. He
that's a good point too.
That's going to tell him anything. That's the way I feel. Tomlin just wants people that he can control.
Well, I think he wants that more. He wants it on defense for sure.
For sure.
Offensively, I think he'll put up with assholes on offense because he put up with Matt Canada for however long that was, and by all reports, Matt Canada was not fun to deal with.
Yeah, right.
There's got to be a 30 for 30 on why they hired him, why they stuck with him so long. Yeah, there's got to be some kind of story behind that.
I made like a 30-minute long video on how excited I was for Matt Canada. It was like the greatest, is the most popular YouTube video I've ever put together. It probably still has like, I don't know, 10,000 views or something crazy, right? Like, and it's like me waxing poetic on like the Matt Canada. You guys are gonna love him. He's gonna be great. Never taken that video down. I probably should actually.
I was just thinking to myself, I'm surprised you haven't taken that down.
Yeah, that's like, one where it's delete. Like maybe we never speak of that video.
I would just say you were joking. Like you say it was a satire video.
Yeah, satire.
I even go through this thing of like, because there was rumors that he was an asshole at the time, right? Even when he got high brothers, like people were like, he never lasts long in a spot because people, don't like to work with him. And I even said in the video, like, I don't know if that's true. It's because he was too successful everywhere he went.
Oh,
boy, you were all in, Tony. You were all in. All the way in.
It was not my finest moment.
Now, you say John Gruden can polish up anybody. He made me cringe a little bit when he asked Jackson Dart what his cadences were. And Jackson Dart's like, that's my cadence. I'm like, no.
Kiffin, man.
Jackson Dart's my guy, and I'm like, don't talk about that.
Okay,
stuff.
you were a Jackson Dart guy, right?
I am.
Oh yeah.
The problem with Jackson Dart, though, here's the problem I have with anyone. There's too many Mickey Mouse offenses in college football, and Lane Kiffin runs the Tennessee offense is the worst one. The veer and shoot Tennessee offense, you can take nothing from what a quarterback is doing in that offense and be like, that's translatable to the NFL because they use the hash marks and everything. But Lane Kiffin has the same thing. Like I watch Jackson Dart, like, everything's a layup for you. Like you're not. How often is Jackson Dart being asked to throw into like, all right, man, you got to layer this throw over the linebacker, but before the safety, like he does none of that stuff. It's so hard for me to project any of those guys in the NFL, and I'm always shocked. Like the Giants took Jackson Dart in the first round. Yeah, you are taking a risk.
Yeah,
I don't know how much you've seen of him doing real NFL things. Now, obviously, they're going to talk to him and they're going to figure that out behind the scenes. But
Brian Daboll's a good quarterback guy, and he liked him. That's something.
I thought they reached.
He was desperate though. If he doesn't win this year, he's gone.
I don't think a rookie quarterback's going to get him wins. Honestly,
well, that's why.
Does Dart even play though? Because like, what is Daboll? Okay, if you're Brian Daboll, and I agree with Bob. Like he's in a. You got to show some signs of life.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
You got Russ, you got Jameis, and now you got your first round quarterback in Jackson Dart. You're gonna start with Russ, right? I mean, like this just unless you ask him to push a sled on the first day of camp, in which case it may take him 4 or 5 weeks to.
Oh my God!
But how awesome would it be if Jameis won the job? How awesome would it be? Jameis and Malik Neighbors would be awesome.
I wanted Jameis here as that just to make it a fucking crazy scene here. I want to see him make Tomlin have a stroke.
What is this?
Are we making up excuses?
We picked Will Howard. What
are you kidding
me? About?
We got the next Josh Allen. You
I don't know. This guy was on last time. I don't know how these Patriot fans sneak in here, but
here's the thing. not taking a quarterback was the right thing to do this year. And I get that
100%.
like right now, today, if the Steelers had to play a football game tomorrow, we're going to have to suffer through another Mason Rudolph. Like we're all going to have to just live together with like, we can, hold hands and like, we'll make it through, boys.
Sing kumbaya.
But the light at the end of the tunnel here is they didn't reach for a guy that they don't really like. If there was a guy they really, really liked, they would have taken him. That guy didn't exist in this class. That guy probably exists next year. So they're going to, we're going to have to talk next year about how do they go and get because I don't think they're going to be like a 5th overall pick style team this year. They're probably going to be in like the late teens, early 20s again. Yeah. And they're going to have to move up. And so they're going to have to work out like how many future picks, because I think it's going to be like 2 firsts and a third is what it's going to take to get where they really need to go. But I'm happy that at least now we have like the light at the end of the tunnel. Is Art Rooney said this earlier in the year. He said, which was a shocking thing for him to say, by the way, when he said, we're looking at getting a quarterback. Maybe that's in 25. Maybe that's in 26. Like when he said that, my jaw dropped. I was like, I cannot believe the Steelers are their owner is actively talking about punting on a season. Like we're punting on 25. Nah, we'll get a quarterback in 26.
Yeah, well, they're not really punting though, right? Because they're still praying that Aaron Rodgers comes in here and rescues their season. That's their whole.
He is going to show up at halftime of the first game and lead us to victory. Comeback victory.
I saw some stupid thing today where he's waiting until the schedule's released so that the Steelers don't get all kinds of primetime games because he's on the, because that happened to the Jets last year.
Everybody knows he's coming. He's coming.
I mean, they're still going to hedge. I bet you the Steelers get a bunch of primetime games because they think Aaron Rodgers is going to be there.
Yeah,
it's not avoiding anything.
They're going to play the Packers in Ireland. That's going to be a huge thing. Because obviously Rodgers gonna be a big part of that. I think. Look, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about Aaron being here because, this team with Russ and Fields, they almost won the division last year. The craziest thing about, I know we're so down on this team this year, and I am too. But they were a pick 6 from Russ away from they could have won the division. As crazy as that would have been.
Yeah.
So. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this team does that again with Rodgers. In fact, I don't even think it's out of the realm of possibility to think this team could be better with Rodgers than they were last year, especially given that Caleb could, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts here because certain things have to work out, right? Like Darius Slay needs to not fall off a cliff career-wise because he's 34 or whatever it is?
34, yep.
Yeah. But I don't know. I could see this team being a 10-11 win team again. With Rodgers, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
No, I think so too. I agree. It gives them the best chance to be competitive this year. Aaron Rodgers. It always has been him. He was the number one.
But for doing that, right? Because we, you and I have always talked about this, Dave, about look, at some point you got to bite the bullet. You got to tank and right? And we got to go into rebuild mode. We know this team is never going to do that. So what they've done this offseason, I think, is the best of both worlds, right? They're not going to tank. Okay. But then if you're not going to tank, then accumulate as much draft capital as you can, which is what they did this offseason by not signing any big free agents. They had all this cap space that they had and could have gotten. And their big acquisitions are 34-year-old Darius Slay, because he was cut and didn't count against the compensatory thing. It was Malik Harrison, who, by the way, he also sucks. I don't know if you guys have analyzed him. He also sucks. I don't know if you guys know that.
That one I knew before
okay.
you even. I was on board with that.
Damn.
He is what he is.
Yeah.
Just in case you guys didn't know, he also sucks.
Watch this is AFC North talk days. I've watched so much Ravens tape. I've seen these guys. I know. Sonny, the guy who is the Ravens representative on AFC North talk, will tell you the same thing. But yeah, who were the big free agent signings this offseason? No one. The only thing they did was get DK, but DK is a long-term play, right? DK is a 5-year, 6-year contract, whatever they gave him. That's well beyond, getting a quarterback in 26. So, no, I think that's the part of this offseason I'm happy with. They're not tanking, but they do finally have a real coherent plan to get this thing back on track. How do we stop being the middle of the road team that gets blown out every first round of every playoff game? Well, it starts with, we got to address the quarterback position. And that doesn't mean, I know when they said this offseason, when we're going to re-sign Russ or Fields, that actually to me was the lowest of low points. Because I just watched this thing get the shit kicked out of them by Baltimore. And it's all right, how do you fix this? I'll tell you how to fix it. Run it back.
Sounds like they were close on Fields. If he would have taken less money, then they,
I like the way
contract...
they structured that. Of like, it's a 2-year deal. That's really a 1-year deal to get out. That again, it's the same thing of, I just want a quarterback in 26. I need a stopgap today. I'll still compete, but the real eye is on 26.
Yeah. And I think you're 1,000,000% right. And we've kind of been saying it was, look, Aaron Rodgers is by far the best thing. And you only have to worry about having him for 1 year. Look, if he wants to play 2 and mentor whoever we pick in 26 and he has a good year, I'm not opposed to it. And the other thing that I love is that, look, if I think if Aaron is playing, we have a 12-win upside. I also think we have a 5-win downside.
Right.
I'm okay with either.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. And
both are good.
Yeah. But that's so true.
One of the things is, like, I know we live in this bubble of Steeler fans where we want to be competitive and like, hey, we don't, I think we're all kind of tired of like no losing seasons. Like we want to get back to like being really competitive. I will say though, and this is the bias that I have because I was on AFC North Talk for so long. I do think it's hilarious that in this time right now where the Steelers should be like, the Ben Roethlisberger era is over. And everyone said after Ben retires, the Steelers are going down in the dumps. You're in quarterback hell. Like you're going to be the worst team in the division. And at that same time that's happening, right? So now Ben is done. The Steelers should be this crap team, worst in the division. The Ravens have a 2-time MVP, should be Super Bowl contenders. The Bengals have absolutely loaded up Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, right? And then the Browns convinced themselves, by the way, we're also Super Bowl contenders. We got Watson now, like great defense. And during that same period, the Steelers have been more competitive than all of those teams other than the Ravens, right? Other than the Ravens. Like the Steelers have had on par or better seasons than the Bengals for the last 2 seasons, the Browns for the last 2 seasons. And the Ravens have been above, they've been above us to this point. But it is funny to me that this team, like when 3 other teams think they're in Super Bowls and we're supposed to be in the doldrums. Not quite.
As long as we have the Browns in the division, we're okay. There's no basement for us. There's always one below for sure.
What were they doing? Have you guys talked about what they did in this draft?
Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let's start. This is a good segue to go on to their drafts.
I think your Dylan Gabriel reaction was priceless.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about this today, and I think I brought it up before. If their plan is to maybe give Shedeur 1 preseason game, a half, pad his stats, tell him to throw the ball all the time. Next year or at the trade deadline, I'll bet you there's a dumb team that says, wow, Shedeur might be something. I'll give up a 4th or a 3rd, and then turn that 5th-round pick into a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if I'm giving the Browns too much credit, but
I think what you just said there, right? Like some team might convince themselves that he is the answer. Is why I hate what the Browns did so much. Some people would say, a lot of people are giving the Browns an A+. Wow, what an amazing draft. Can't believe you got more draft capital and you got 2 quarterbacks and one of them could work out, yada, yada. Here's my problem with getting 2 guys that clearly the Browns didn't love either guy. They kind of like them. The problem with guys you don't love, this is the Kenny Pickett thing that I was always worried about with Kenny, is when you have a guy like that and he shows any signs of life, you kind of squint and go like, hey, maybe I have something here.
Yeah.
When everyone else knows
it's true.
You don't have, you got nothing. It's the Ryan Tannehill problem. It's the Ryan Tannehill problem in Tennessee. Everyone who watched the Tennessee Titans knew you are not winning shit with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. I'm sorry. Derrick Henry's great. Defense is great. Mike Vrabel's great. But you're never winning a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. But all the Titans fans convince themselves like, no, Ryan, just do what Ryan can distribute, and we don't need him to be a playmaker. We just need him to get the ball. And then every playoff game played out the same way with Ryan Tannehill. It was like, oh, he made a ton of mistakes. The Browns could easily do this to themselves. They traded out of getting, in my opinion, the best player in the draft, Travis Hunter. They trade out of that to accumulate capital for next year. Probably get a quarterback, right? Makes a ton of sense. Okay. I don't love that because Travis Hunter is the best player in this class, but you do need a quarterback. But then to follow that up by taking 2 quarterbacks. So now you have 2 opportunities to talk yourself into not taking a quarterback next year. Why? Why would you do you again have a vision? I don't like people say this idea of like just throw shit against the wall at quarterback until something sticks. No, go find the guy you love. Find the guy who you believe in. This is our franchise guy. Find that guy.
I think
that's my point.
They're under like Shedeur and made them take him.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Find a guy that you love, like David loves Will Howard.
Exactly.
That's the answer. That's
A
the
plus
answer.
draft.
The other thing,
guys. A plus.
I would love to attend Brown's training camp this year just to see
Oh,
how are they going to distribute the reps.
That's crazy.
Okay,
it's crazy.
Joe Flacco needs to start day one, right? That's probably, and he's going to be competing with Kenny. Those are your two, like, these guys could start for us this
Be careful.
year.
You're going to have the picket lickers up in an uproar.
Yeah, true.
Kenny is the starter. He
Yeah,
said
he's
so.
got it.
He said, I'm here to start. So
Yeah. Kenny may get cut. So-
Yeah.
He might get cut.
I
No,
think
Kenny-
whoever loses-
No joke.
no.
Really?
Kenny's
whoever
odd
loses
man out.
that
I think.
battle gets cut.
Like
Oh,
of all
no, you-
former, like this
you
is
think he's the
payback
one?
for all overdrafted Steelers are getting payback this offseason. Like Najee got screwed in LA, and now Kenny. Boy, oh boy, Kenny. I mean,
Yeah, that quarterback room was empty when he got there, right? And all of a sudden, it's Flacco. It's two quarterbacks in the draft. It's like, fuck, man.
you know what? They're going to trade him.
To who? Who's trading for Kenny
they
Pickett?
can't trade him. They can't trade him.
Really?
They can't.
It's against league rules to trade a player you traded.
Oh, no. I don't think he'll go back to but if there's an injury in preseason, I could see it.
I
I
don't
think
know.
he's
who
I
just
wants
think
gonna
they
cut
have
in
to
training
cut
camp,
him out
or at the end of
It's
training
like
camp.
the Deontay deal last year.
I don't know, but I could see
So
them
there's
trying
only
to
one
get
ball.
something.
So who are you giving reps to? Like, how are they going to get Shador and Dylan Gabriel enough reps in camp to figure out? Like, you got to decide a starter between Flacco and Kenny, and then maybe one of the rookies outperforms. But like, there's only one ball. Like, how are you distributing these reps?
I don't know.
I'd be willing to bet, and I think this would be a mistake for the kid and for the team. But I'd be willing to bet by October, by Halloween, that Shador's the starter.
I mean,
That's how
anything's
bad
possible.
that quarterback situation.
NFL,
Bob
I
Hot
need you to
takes.
schedule.
Here we go.
Can we do the two games in 3 week thing again? Because I want to play Shador twice. Like, I want to play against Shador. That
Yeah,
is
me too.
going to be such a friggin' disaster. Shador in Cleveland is the worst case scenario. He needed to go when he kept falling. I kept saying he needs to go to a team with an established quarterback. He needs to get drafted by Kansas City or Buffalo or Philly or like someone with an entrenched guy who there's no chance he's going to take over for, because otherwise, like, the fan base is going to be calling for him to start. And also in a bad situation, like, remember at Colorado, he threw his offensive line literally under the bus. Like, there was a press conference where he said, how many times did the other guy get hit? And by the way, the other guy he's talking about is Dylan Raiola and Nebraska, of all teams. So, yeah.
Instead, he gets to go to QB hell.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, and again, it's not that he's so talented he can win. It's how bad that room is. And you think about it, they still got a year of Deshaun Watson. So they may draft a quarterback next year, but you still can't cut Deshaun for one more season. So
He's done. This injury's going to keep him out all this year. And
He's done. You just got to keep him on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pay him.
Yeah.
Cap wise, they screwed themselves. Yeah.
Oh my God. The
Right.
rest of their draft wasn't too bad. I mean, they got Mason Graham, they got Quinshon Judkins, who I like.
Doesn't Mason Graham have short arms?
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah, it does a little
That
bit.
bothers me.
He's a kind of a high floor, low ceiling type guy. He's going to be.
I think the floor is lower than people think.
You think so?
I think that there's real bust potential with Mason Graham. First of all, because he's on the Browns. That's like number one, he's on the Browns. So automatically your bust potential increases by like 45%.
Yeah.
Just by like the jersey and the name on the jersey, like, oh, Mason Graham Brown. Okay. But also I think guys with short arms, especially on the D line, you can get eaten up very, very easily.
It's true.
I don't care how strong you are. You got short arms and those guys are under your pads and you can't separate.
You know what I forgot? They took 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs. They got Dylan Sampson too.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah. They had to reload the running back room. They had no one. They have Jerome Ford is literally the only guy in their room right now.
So I like Sampson too coming in the draft. They got him 5th round, 4th round. So not terrible, but the 2 quarterback thing. I mean, Dylan Gabriel. If they drafted a position player there, then just take Shador in the 5th, and that's a pretty good draft. But the 2 quarterback things.
Well,
we were
quarterback
shocked
in the 3rd round for them. If like their whole idea was we're trading out of Travis Hunter because we're all in on quarterback in 26. Why are you taking a quarterback in the 3rd round?
It's true.
I thought the whole idea was we're in on a quarterback next year.
Right. It didn't make
They're
it.
kinda, I hate when you kind of live between those two worlds, right? Like
to your point, that's why do they draft off away from Travis Hunter? There's only one reason: to get a first-round pick to get a quarterback next year.
Get a quarterback.
Yep.
If not, then you're just dumb. It's just a dumb move.
I was so sad. I was so sad as we got closer and closer to the draft. The idea of having to watch Travis Hunter in a Browns uniform was so sad to me. I don't have to worry about it. They're the Browns.
Which, by the way, I will say Jacksonville, I mean, all the buzz is he's going to play both. They're talking about trying to play this kid 55, 60 minutes.
See, I'd be worried about that. Kid's 180 pounds.
I know.
You're gonna wear him out. By year 3, he's gonna be.
And don't you think not to
injuries
derail?
Too.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about him maybe being the nickel corner instead of the starting corner. By the way.
But so much. This is my problem with having him play. Okay, he's going to have to get a pitch count at some point, right? And I think having him play more offense than defense, like defense is so much about communication and you having a rapport with the other guys out there. What meeting room is he sitting in when we're going through how we're running certain coverages, right? Is he in the DB room or is he in the wide receiver room, right? I mean, to me, I always thought I play him at corner. That's his position. And then he can come in on packages at wide receiver.
Yep.
And like that, to me, that made a lot of sense.
It sounds like the Jags are doing the exact opposite almost. They want him as a receiver.
Yeah.
And then he'll play
defense. They want him just play 100% of both. The press conference that kid gave, the 34-year-old GM that they have, that's borderline unhinged stuff. Like he was talking about.
He was in love. Okay. We'll see how that works out after he can't play more than 6 games, man. Wear him right out. Let's switch to the Bengals. I kind of low-key wanted to see the Bengals just go ham on offense and take like Trevion Henderson in the first round, just go nuts. I was really rooting for it, and they didn't do it. They took Shamar Stewart, which is a good kind of dart throw with upside. I mean, 1.5 career sacks in college, tested through the roof. Interesting guy. Do you guys think, let's say that the Steelers were in the Bengals situation, meaning they're low, like this is go back to Killer Bee style, right? We have an offense that is set. Like this is an offense that we know can work. Defensively, they suck. They're one of the worst, maybe the worst defense in the league last year. Are you more willing to take dart throws that could peak out to great, or are you trying to be a little more safe, a little more conservative? Like, let me just get some guys that can play defensively so the bottom doesn't fall out again defensively. It's a good question.
Because I think I'm more conservative if I'm Cincinnati.
Right, because they just needed their defense to be like middle of the road, and they would have won more games. They couldn't even get that out of them. So yeah, I could see that approach. Going more conservative, guys that you know for a fact will be decent. Yeah, I get that approach.
Yeah. I just feel like Shamar Stewart is a bust. I mean, it's gonna look. Bottom line is, if you were all this big, strong test off the charts, and you can't get more than 1.5 sacks in college, nah, dude, I don't need you on my team. Not in the first round. Maybe a 7th round flyer.
Right.
I think
so far we've covered that the Browns' first pick's a bust, and the Cincinnati Bengals' first pick is a bust.
It's a Steelers podcast. What do you want?
Our 6th round pick is the next Josh Allen. Whew, we are on fire.
That is true.
Who says we're not positive?
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. We are very positive, except for the whole segment where I went on about how much
PQ sucks.
Queen sucks. But other than that,
we've been really positive.
That's fine. No, the Bengals have whiffed on so many defensive prospects over the last 4 drafts or whatever it is. Like
I heard they're going to cut your favorite Jermaine Pratt there. I heard they're going to cut him. That was on Twitter today. I know you're not a fan of Jermaine Pratt either.
No, I've always been called a Logan Wilson hater because I said Logan Wilson was a good, not great linebacker, but that's a different thing. But I just think you look back, like last year they took Chris Jenkins. Anybody know who Chris Jenkins is? Anyone? Did he register on anybody's? No, right?
That's
absolutely not. They took in the year before that, they took Myles Murphy, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle. Okay.
Oof.
Any of those ringing any bells for you guys on
they have not done anything.
No. Yeah, and then the draft before that was Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, Zach Carter. Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt are names I recognize.
Yeah, Dax Hill. Yeah,
I like Dax Hill coming out, but he hasn't done much.
Hurt,
yeah, not good.
I thought Cam Taylor-Britt was going to be better than he's been.
He had a flashy year. I forget it was his rookie or second year. He had a flashy year.
Yeah,
but yeah, not good. I mean, that I don't, for me, if I'm the Bengals and I've just gone through that many classes in a row of like bust,
yeah, you're probably right.
Okay at best,
Take
I
a
may
safe
just
pick.
go like, all right.
I do think they got a good one in Demetrius Knight, that linebacker from South Carolina.
But even he was a little overdrafted, right? A lot of people had him a third, fourth round guy. He ended up going in the second. So
I think he might be the best off-ball line. Well, maybe Jihad. He's in the conversation for best off-ball linebacker in the class.
In the class?
Yeah.
I didn't do much looking at inside linebackers this year because although I didn't look at edge either. And
well, you should have.
What do I know?
These guys.
And we ended up taking
yeah. Terrell Edmonds 2.0 could have happened. You got to be
exactly.
I'll never forget the Terrell Edmonds pick. That was the first year I was hosting Locked On Steelers, and I felt so prepared going into that draft. I did a live show. I was like, no matter who they pick, like, I'm going to be able to just wax poetic about everybody because I've watched every game film of every guy. It's like Terrell Edmonds, and I'm like, I haven't watched a second of this dude. Like, what an absolute reach.
When they drafted Adi Burns, I was like, who? I knew who Adi, and it's funny because I saw somebody on Twitter at the time mention Adi Burns as a possibility. I don't know. I wish I remembered who it was because they must have had some information. I'm like, there's no fucking way they're taking Adi Burns.
Right.
And sure enough,
right,
they took Adi Burns. They fooled us a couple. They surprised
His
us
ceiling was supposed to be the second round. That was the projection. The ceiling.
Panic pick. Yeah. A panic pick.
Senquez Golston, 4th round projection. They took him in the second. That was another one. Oh.
Senquez, Senquez is the greatest what if story in Steelers draft history.
Yeah.
Pretty good athlete if he could have stayed healthy.
You want to talk about being unlucky. That's the thing about, because did Senquez Golston have injury concerns going into that class? I don't remember him having injury concerns.
I don't think so.
I can't recall, to be honest.
That's why I always, I know you guys were a little bit like cautious about the Harmon pick because he's got this like rotator cuff, like we don't know if that can ever heal. I always get a little like it could happen to anyone. Like, yeah, you could have a rotator cuff and that can get worse. Or, sometimes guys come out and they're like, this guy, remember Miles Jack was like, Miles Jack has a knee that will explode in 2 years. Like he will never play. And then like Miles Jack was playing until he was like 32.
Yeah. So how many of those dice rolls can you do before,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you who wants to find out that his name is Omar
Khan. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, he's rolling the dice. Peyton Wilson, Darnell Washington.
Yeah. I love Omar's style that way of like, let's just take a chance on talent here, boys.
I was feeling pretty good towards the end of the draft. I'm like, this is a house of cards. This could all fall apart. You got a 6-year-old defensive tackle. You got a 34-year-old corner. You've got half a dozen guys with injury red flags on this team. This thing could. There's a world where this thing implodes.
If the rotator cuff gets any worse for Harmon and he has a Fautanu thing where like he has to sit out the year, that's when I think Khan needs to, because Colbert didn't do this. Colbert was like, hey, medical red flag.
Yeah, medical red flag. Nope, not doing it. So it's definitely different from what they're used to. And as far as Relic, let's go easy on Peyton Wilson. I mean, he hasn't done a fucking thing in the league yet. Can we slow our roll about don't say anything bad about Peyton Wilson? Jesus Christ.
Well,
also,
bottom line is the Steelers said something bad because they brought back Cole Holcomb. And you know who's going to start over
another
Peyton
injury?
Wilson? Cole Holcomb.
A great example. Another
Malik
injury
Harrison's
play
going
guy.
to start. By the way, let's just clear the air on that. Malik Harrison's starting.
You think so?
What?
Yeah, on running, like Elaine and Roberts started last year on rundowns. Yeah,
that's true.
Oh,
that's true.
Okay, that's good.
Malik Harrison is brought in to be Malik Harrison is brought in to be the Elaine and Roberts replacement. And
this gets to my point.
You guys want to watch a disaster? Watch inside linebacker at the Steelers this year. Like,
it's funny from your perspective because you watched him with the Ravens, so you knew. Us Steeler fans that didn't really watch him too closely with the Ravens were just like, well, he's going to pop soon. It's coming any week now. Any week now he's going to figure this out.
EQ?
And we talked ourselves into it. The whole season.
He had some great games. I think the first Ravens game, he was like unbelievably good. Maybe the greatest game of his entire career, like going back to his time in Baltimore too. The thing about PQ is why everyone talked themselves into him is he got so much better when they got Roquan. You can draw a straight line between Roquan being bad on Baltimore and being like borderline, like I'm not going to call him great because again, it was a lot of Roquan stuff, but like there was a time where like he was a good player, but it was because Roquan was hiding a lot of his inefficiencies.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, let's do Ravens before we're getting late here. Again, the Ravens just sit and wait. and players fall into their laps. I mean, Malachi Starks, Mike Green, most of their other draft is just okay, but those two guys, there's the potential, especially Mike Green. And the red flags of off the field stuff, but on the field, that's a good player.
No, exactly. And again, you want, like, if the Mike Green allegations are not good. If there's a you want that player needs to go to an organization that's gonna figure him out or whatever. And like Baltimore is a stable organization like that. They had a great draft. I mean, Baltimore had a great draft. They don't miss.
They did.
In these things. There's a reason why the rich get richer in the NFL. The NFL sets it up to where like the bad teams pick first and the good teams pick last. But what always happens in the NFL and why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor in the NFL is because the bad teams aren't just bad, they're dumb. And the good teams aren't just good, they're smart. And that's what just ends up happening here. That's why the Browns are the Browns, right? The Browns are like, I'm going to outsmart myself by trading away from the consensus best player in this class to trade away and get a quarterback next year, but then also get 2 quarterbacks this year, right? Like, we set it up for you to be good, Cleveland. Like, stop doing this to yourself. But then a guy like Malachi Starks will fall to Baltimore, who they now get to pair with Kyle Hamilton. And oh, by the way, this is a disaster for Pittsburgh because part of the reason why that Baltimore team was so bad at parts last year is because Kyle Hamilton had to play out of position. Now they can put him back. They're going to put him back in. Malachi is going to play the deep.
And he got injured. That's another reason they didn't have him 100% a lot of games too.
Yeah.
I mean, even late in the draft, they Aeneas Pebbles, who is a really solid defensive lineman, and Robert Longerbeam I think he's going to be a really good slot corner.
Did he run 4.3 or something like that?
He's
very fast.
Corner? What is that?
He had a great 40.
We don't draft those around here. Bob. Slot corner.
Right. What is that?
Yeah, we kind of talked about us maybe going after Jahdae Barron, although he went before us. As okay, hey, that's the final answer at slot corner. Just don't play him on the boundary. Which, knowing the Steelers, they would have turned him into a linebacker. But it is what it is.
I do wonder what the Steelers' long-term answer at corner is going to be because I do worry that's a position where they're gonna do like this rotating. They have Joey Porter. He's going to be CB1, and hopefully he can develop and not be so handsy. Although I do think that's like the whole reason why he's good is because he's physical. So if you take that away from him, like, what do you really have? But it does feel like that's going to kind of be like a rotating piece, like Slay this year, then another like guy we're going to sign for 2 or 3 years, and then. Don't
you feel like they hope it's Corey Trice?
I'm sure. I'm sure they hope it's Corey Trice. But you want to talk about injury red flags?
Another one.
Oh yeah,
he fits right in. Fits in like a glove.
I mean, that's like the old what was that, like Varsity Blues or whatever? What was the movie where they were keeping?
I wonder if Omar's just sitting there rolling the dice, saying, "Well, I could hardly do worse than 9 out of 42 like Colbert did his last 10 years."
See, now he can't reel me into the Shooter Sanders fights anymore. So now he's going to go back to the Colbert thing again. He's trying to hook me there. I'm not falling for it, but I'm not falling.
Colbert. You guys, I like when you guys argue about Colbert because both sides are right. Like Colbert did panic draft at the end. At the end, Colbert got old.
He lost a little bit of his fastball.
And he did. He Father Time is undefeated. The problem is he started thinking about legacy too much. And he just that the Kenny pick is one of those things.
There you go. He hedged his bets with Kenny fucking Pickett.
We were told that was an Art Rooney pick now.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that's true.
Art.
No, that's a Colbert legacy. Like, I'm going to leave you. My legacy is going to be that I drafted Ben and left you with Kenny. It's a bookend, sweet story. Like, he talked himself to hometown kid.
Art said that he didn't want to pass up on another pick quarterback and make the same mistake they made in the past. Blah, blah, blah.
But maybe Kevin Colbert convinced him that was the way to go.
No. I prefer to just think of it as an Art Rooney thing, unless just.
Well, okay. How do you spin the Najee thing the year before, though?
Ooh.
Oh, that's panic. They were trying to squeeze one more Super Bowl out of Ben Roethlisberger. They were doing everything they possibly could to prop him up. Because again, except
Colbert,
get him an offensive line, which made no sense. The legacy
of Colbert was, can I get one more Super Bowl before I go? And the right way to rebuild the running game was start with the line. It's a long-term project. Colbert says, I ain't got a long time. I'm going to retire in a year or two, boys.
Well, and
how can I fast track it?
In fairness, him saying I don't have much time left, and Mike Tomlin saying I don't have the patience to wait. I want to win one before Ben goes too. I think that goes hand in hand because Tomlin is not a patient guy. He wants now.
No, but Tomlin is changing. You
think so?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. When he benched Fields last year, I don't know if you guys saw my video I did. I was grinning ear to ear like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Not that I thought Russ was going to be great, but that finally we got Mike Tomlin to admit that, like, good enough is not good enough. You know, you could have just stuck with Justin Fields and been like, yeah, we're just going to do this thing. I like the Justin Fields thing because, you know, there's no risk to it. And like, yeah, Justin can lead in this offense. But he said, I don't want to be good on offense. I want to be great. And so we went with Russ. Now, obviously, you know, Russ was Russ at the end of the day. But I do like the idea that this team is starting to admit to itself that we're not just going to be like, don't screw it up for me on offense because defense is going to win the day. Like, Tomlin is actually coming around to the idea of like, no, I do need a legitimately good offense to compete. I can't just win it all with my defense. Got DK this offseason. They're going after a quarterback next year. I think we're seeing a bit of a change in Mike Tomlin's philosophy.
There's also there were rumors today too that one of the main reasons they got Caleb Johnson is because I guess the rumor is that Arthur Smith could not run his offense with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. That he needed a back like Caleb Johnson.
There could be some greens. Yeah.
No, have you guys watched Arthur Smith's press conference he did after they drafted Caleb? He said, I didn't run a lot of my stuff last year.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh, he runs exclusively like outside zone and inside zone and that kind of stuff. You know, they were trying to run this power toss shit because that's what's better for Najee. He did pivot last year.
That was not good for Najee. That was tosses to Najee was bad. It's like, oh my god.
I mean, in fairness, what is good for?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, look, you gotta grade him. When I say good for Najee, we're grading on a curve. Okay, we're grading on a curve.
Wow.
I didn't say it was good. I said it was good for Najee.
I never thought I would be on a podcast where I was the top Najee guy on the floor.
Like the Najee guys. Okay, the Najee guys drive me nuts though because.
And I'm not a Najee guy.
They do this. The Najee guy. Are any of you not? I don't want to put. I hate when I do this when I go on a show.
You're fine. This is a safe space. Go ahead.
Okay, the safe space. Good. Okay, good. I don't. I just don't want to like insult anyone and be like, yeah, you're an idiot for being a Najee guy.
About a month ago, you didn't.
We had a couple of co-hosts. One more co-host that would have been. But you're good now.
Okay, the Najee guys do the same thing the Tomlin guys do. Where like the Najee guys will go, oh, we had 1,000 yards every time he was here. I'm like, okay, 1,000 yards in a 17-game season when he's getting 300 carries a year. Not like the guy averages like 3.9, 4 yards per carry. Of every 1,000-yard rusher, every year Najee had 1,000 yards. He had the lowest yards per carry of any 1,000-yard rusher that year. Like the thing is, like, he was a durable guy. I agree with that. But this idea that, like, well, he's 1,000 yards, it's the same thing we do with Tomlin. Like, well, he hasn't had a losing season. Hey. I don't want to hear about the no playoff stuff because no losing seasons. It's like, no, I get it. Like, Najee was a dependable dude. But Najee had a lot of flaws for a number one running back, especially a guy picked in the first round.
Yep.
He was 50th in the NFL in yards per carry last year. 50th.
Yeah. That's what he is.
50th. Jalen Warren was 25th.
Well, the other thing, this is the other thing that drives me nuts. Jalen Warren had more yards per carry every year he was here with Najee. I'm pretty sure. Now, he might be year he was hurt. But I'm pretty sure he did.
You're right.
He did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then people will say, like, well, Najee, he's got a bad offensive line. Like, it's a play calling that stops Najee. Does Jalen Warren get a different offensive line when he's out there? Like, do they put in a different play call when he's out there?
They're on. Steelers Twitter is very tribal. Once they get on somebody, the Kenny Pickett's, the Mason Rudolphs, the Najee Harris, then you cannot talk them off of it for no matter what. Clear evidence. No. They're using Najee wrong. That's why he's only averaging.
Can we do an intervention then? Can we do an intervention for this show? I want to be an intervention for you three because I heard you guys say something the other show that I need to get you guys off of this.
Okay.
Let's go.
We got it. Guys, it's over with Deontay, boys. Like, we got it. Deontay.
I'm the Deontay guy. I'm the Deontay guy. These guys are not.
Hey, boys.
I'm the Deontay guy. I take full responsibility.
But you guys gotta cool it. Deontay is cooked.
Dave got
this team has absolutely killed my sensibility for offense. I cling to every last little hope drop of talent on offense. Just bring it back, please.
I know, but they're going to run them. Like, this is going to be a real mature NFL offense. I mean, okay, the offensive line is going to have to come together, but like skill position wise, Aaron Rodgers, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. Like that's, there, no longer is it Van Jefferson at, starting outside corner.
That's what I'm talking about.
Najee Harris at running back. This team is going to be like
Don't you want like
offense.
A route running slot that can, something along those lines.
I saw you say this. I think you were arguing with Nick on Twitter, right? About this with the Robert Woods thing.
Yes.
Yeah. The problem that I have with your take though, is that the guy you're talking about, his name is Roman Wilson, and he's going to need to step up this year. Because for me, I like you were saying they should sign Elijah Moore, right? Like Elijah Moore. First of all, yes. Elijah Moore also, just like Deontay, I don't think he's good. But let's live in a world where Elijah Moore is good.
I don't think he's great.
Yeah, I don't think we should bring him in though, because you want to build a wide receiver room like you would build a basketball team, meaning you want to have different skill sets, right? You want to have different body types, different skill sets.
Agreed.
Elijah Moore is competing with Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson and Scotty Miller and guys we already have, right? Are we going to live in a world where we're going to are you keeping Calvin and Roman Wilson and Elijah Moore? Or are you willing to sign Elijah Moore at the expense of maybe cutting Calvin or cutting Roman Wilson?
I'm okay with him over Calvin Austin. I'm not a Calvin Austin guy.
Well, you're going to fight with some Calvin Austin guys then.
I think there's very little downside to keeping Calvin Austin this year. I mean, he has shown he's a tough little guy. And look, those 4 receivers you named, when they're on break from the Wizard of Oz revival, they're okay as the slot guy. But I mean, I really, when you say different body types, I totally get it. Pickens and Metcalf are kind of the same.
Well, I'm not saying the Steelers have built a good room. Yeah.
And
that's
what I'm
talking about.
Little tiny slot guys, which I don't.
What is the Steelers' obsession with washed-up Rams receivers? What is the obsession? Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson, Robert Woods. What's going on here?
Robert Woods is here to be wide receiver 4 or 5. Van Jefferson was.
He's not going to make the team.
No.
You gave Ben Skoranek 2 years. He's making
it.
Robert,
make the team.
Robert Woods. All right. Much like Malik Harrison. I got to burst the bubble. I think Robert Woods
sucks.
Robert Woods will start at the slot this year for the Steelers. And I'll tell you why.
Dave's out.
And you guys are going to lose your mind when I say this. You're going to lose your mind.
I know what you're going to say.
Dave. Dave's head's going to explode. He can block. Yeah, he can block.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
They're going to run 11 personnel and he can block. But it matters. It matters.
I don't care if you got to get Wilson, Rosetta Stone, Babbel, hooked on phonics. I don't give a fuck what program you got to find for that kid to understand the fucking playbook. He better be in the fucking slot. This is nuts. Woods?
Robert Woods will start. And by the way, I hope Omar Khan is watching this because Omar, this is what you did to Steeler fans, okay? This is what you did when you made us watch Van Jefferson and all these shitty receivers 100%. We've had for so long. Like, we have DK. We're going to be okay. Like this team has DK and Pickens for a year. We're going to be okay at wide receiver. Robert Woods will come in. I agree. He's not a great slot receiver, but he can block out of 11. And this team is probably going to run the ball a lot. And I get it. Like wide receivers who can block is one of those like, why are you getting a corner who can tackle type things? Like I love when people say like this corner is a great tackle. Like, well, a good corner shouldn't have to tackle because he should probably probably want to defend the pass.
If you're noticing his tackling, there's a problem right off the bat.
Like he's a great tackler. When Minka led the team in tackles that one, you're like, what a great year. Like, I don't know if that was a good year. Minka probably, but anyway, no, like if you look at a lot of the run game last year, the Steelers, Van Jefferson in particular, was a horrific run blocker. And there was a lot of popcorn issues with the run game last year where there were a lot of times where like one guy is just completely whiffing on a block. And a lot of the times that guy was a wide receiver. So I understand the Steelers' obsession with like, we got to get better at blocking at wide receiver. Now that shouldn't come at the expense of actually good wide receivers. But look, on passing downs, it will be DK, Pickens, Calvin Austin. That's an NFL wide receiver room. Yeah.
Do you feel that way about Calvin Austin there, Dave?
No, I don't, but we'll see.
Calvin Austin hater?
I knew it.
I will say this. If Aaron is the quarterback and drag routes suddenly become part of the offense, I would love to see what Calvin Austin could do, getting hit in stride on a drag route or a slant,
and then get annihilated by a safety, and then he's done.
He's very hard to
He's too
catch.
fast for that. Can't catch. Too small.
Come on,
too
too
small.
fast for that.
He's too small.
The
Right.
problem is that Russell Wilson would throw him a moonball where he has to stop and catch it and then get annihilated. You got to hit that guy on the move. He's fast. Get him coming across, hit him in stride, let him take off for 20 yards.
The other guy, by the way, Bob, if you love that guy, you're going to love Roman Wilson. This guy ate on deep over routes at like the play action got slot on a deep over, which we've all run that play in Madden or NCAA, by the way, one of the best plays in the game. That he's like Roman Wilson eats on that play. So,
but he can't read. So it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean the Roman Wilson thing is one of those.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. This team and wide receivers, it's a problem. It's a real problem. They don't
look. What if Roman Wilson is good? What if he comes out and plays and he's good? How bad does last year look? How stupid do we look if he comes out and he's good?
He could end up being good. He could end up being good, but we don't know. We've never seen it.
The problem is he's another slot guy. He is another slot guy. And I think, talking earlier about like Bob's point of like, hey, building your team like a basketball team, like the Steelers don't really do that. They have three guys who are the same in Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and then they have two outside receivers who are the same in DK and Pickens. Neither is a tactician route runner. They're both, they're both kind of speed go guys. DK is a little more physical, but DK's physical, but like if you watch him in 50-50 ball situations, I actually think Pickens is a better 50-50 ball player.
Pickens is one of the best in the league at that.
Yeah, because he can contort so well. Yeah. DK should be more physical, but regardless, I do think that they can fill this room out further in the future. It's why I think Pickens, I don't know that he has a long-term future on this team. I know a lot of podcasts that I've listened to recently are talking about like Pickens potentially getting re-signed after this year. I don't necessarily see that.
I heard, there was rumors he almost got dealt to the Cowboys during the draft, that there was some serious conversations going back and forth.
But you heard the
Cowboys
comp.
didn't draft.
You heard what the comp was?
No.
4th.
No.
Yeah, I know. You can't do that.
I mean, Bob's made the point 100 times. Let him walk and get a third compensatory pick. Don't take a 4th.
I don't know. How much do you think he makes on the open market?
I think some dumb team's going to pay him a lot.
They're going to pay him
like Christian Kirk and go crazy.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
The Cowboys will pay him. Somebody will.
I mean, just look at this offseason. Look at the crazy contracts getting handed out.
Here's the question. Is he going to – there's one of two routes he can go. He can go the Deontay Johnson route and go bananas and do stupid shit, or he can stay on the – if he stays on the straight and narrow and has a decent season, he could get paid.
Well, who's more likely to crash out? Like, who's more likely to crash out this year? George Pickens or Aaron Rodgers because he has to play with George Pickens, who doesn't run the right route?
I think it ends up being Pickens because they'll freeze him out. He won't throw him the ball, and then Pickens will go batshit crazy.
But he might love it. Yeah, you're right, Bob. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
No, there's that video of like Pickens saying if he could pick a quarterback he'd ever play with or something, it'd be Aaron Rodgers. Wasn't there some kind of video like that?
Yeah, I do remember something about that. We'll see.
So
Rodgers is you got to be where you got to. You got to be where I want you to be when I want you to be there. And if you're not, get him out.
See ya.
It's going to be fun.
He kicked Mike Williams off the team last year. Like
he basically
Aaron Rodgers kicked a player off the team.
I can't wait for it. Chaos.
I know. Yes. It is going to be a fun year.
Yeah.
We've been dying for it. And he just keeps making us wait. I mean, just sign already so we can know what the quarterback is and start to look forward to it. Because I still think in the back of my head somewhere, he's waiting for another opportunity. He's waiting for another quarterback to stub his toe or fall off the golf cart, and then he gets a chance to be a starter somewhere else.
Do you believe the report that I forget what Diana Rossini said that the Steelers got confirmation before? Like they asked for confirmation from Rodgers and they got it.
I don't believe anything national media says about Aaron Rodgers. He goes out of his way not to talk to them. So if it's coming from somebody else about Aaron Rodgers,
Dave's saying #fake news.
Could have come from the Steelers.
I guess it could come from the Steelers.
Well, I know we're long here, but this is going to open another can of worms. Don't you think that if they didn't get confirmation from Rodgers, then Shedeur Sanders is a Pittsburgh Steeler today?
No, I don't think.
I do.
No, I don't think necessarily. I don't think they were on Shedeur.
Okay, I'll put it this way.
Then Jackson Dart's a Steeler.
No, I don't think they were on him either. I think
I'm
you're right.
telling
I don't
you-
think they liked anybody in this quarterback class.
Shedeur Sanders is a Steeler either in the first, the third, or the fourth, or the fifth.
Right.
One of those
Might not have
rounds.
been the first and the third, but the fourth, you're damn right. They would
Yeah,
have picked it.
Yeah,
it's
like
coming.
I think if
I
they don't
guess,
think
I
Rodgers
guess.
is coming this year, I think they panic on a quarterback.
Well, this is what I
Yeah,
said
I
before.
agree.
Every time they get cold feet, I'm going to go play catch with DK.
Right.
They're starting to get cold feet again. I'm gonna go visit the facility. He's just keeping them just keeping them close, keeping them close.
You are really not happy with Uncle Aaron.
He just doesn't want the guy.
What's that?
Look, what happened to Aaron last year at this time? Or not this time, but like maybe 3 weeks from now. What happened? What was the big story about Aaron Rodgers?
That
He went on
didn't get
vacation. He did that
Yeah.
vacation where he missed minicamp, and everyone's like, "What an asshole! He's selfish." Yada yada. So this year he's going to go, "Okay, I'm just not going to sign till after minicamp. It
That's
won't be
crazy.
a punch that I wasn't there because I'm not on a roster, so I didn't."
That's
have to be
insane.
there."
I think Tomlin has given us the biggest clue. The line of demarcation is training camp, which is a hint and a half that we're going to see him at training camp.
Yeah. The Rodgers thing is happening. To me, it's like you can get the jersey today, customize it, 12
Oh,
Rodgers,
I don't-
not 12. Oh, he won't be able to wear 12, right? Because
I was about to say, careful now.
yeah, not 12. Not
Careful.
What does he wear? What does he?
Look,
Well,
21,
I love-
21.
well, the
doesn't
freaking
matter.
Giants kid asked for Lawrence Taylor's number, so I guess he can ask, right?
Wouldn't it be awesome,
Unbelievable.
though, if Terry came out and said, I'm going to let Aaron wear 12, and the Steelers make the agreement that at the end of the year they're going to retire 12? That would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
They
that'd
don't
be cool.
retire numbers. It's weird. They just have
they
numbers they
don't.
don't give out, but they don't really retire them.
Speaking of, I know I'm going to open up another can of worms. I wanted to hit on Antonio Brown a little bit. He's on one again on Twitter. I don't know if you guys
he's
have seen
going
this.
Crazy what he
But
said.
he lit Tom Brady on fire. He's lit Big Ben Roethlisberger on fire, saying his sister.
Well,
Yeah,
technically, he lit his sister on fire.
Careful, careful, Dave. Careful
Man.
now. Let's take it easy.
Every time you think he's getting closer to what's normal for Antonio Brown, it's just off the rails again.
That's because
Someone
he's
needs to
not
get to that
normal and he's crazy as fuck, and he's never gonna be.
Yeah, no.
because he was playing nice with Ben for a little while there, right?
He was. There was a
now-
reasoning behind that, though.
Yeah,
He
he's
has
a little
an ulterior
manic, though,
motive when he does this kind of stuff. That's the thing.
I
Are
feel
you
bad
guys
for the
familiar
guy.
with? Are you familiar with Bill Simmons? He calls it the Tyson zone. You guys
Yes.
familiar with this concept?
Yeah,
No,
yes, I
like
am.
where
Tyson
where a Tyson zone is where you could literally read any headline about a person and you would immediately believe it because they're that crazy.
Wow.
That's Antonio Brown. Like Antonio Brown is fully in the Tyson zone where you could tell me he did anything and I would be like, yeah, it's probably true. Yeah.
I can't. I feel bad because he was one of my favorite players when he was here, and it's just gone so far off the rails. I know it's not news to anybody, but I thought, stupid me, thought he was getting a little better.
No.
It's calming down, but no,
No.
he's as bad as ever.
Yeah.
Hey, can we bring up? Relic had a question. Did you guys see this question that
No,
he asked?
go back to it if you. I asked Dave on Twitter, but it's fun. Do you think Jack Sawyer was drafted to replace Moon Rush? And
God, I hope not.
Do you
Because
think
if you're
those
worried about
spots?
drafting your fourth string replacement for Jeremiah Moon in the fourth round, I mean,
Yeah.
that's some Kevin Colbert shit right there.
No, I think they were though. I think they were.
Whoa.
I think they're really worried about edge rusher. And I think they're really worried about Nick Herbig and the fact that he can't defend the run.
Well, I retweeted somebody today. Dunbar was kind of throwing Herbig under the bus, saying something to the effect of, we weren't good on setting the edge, and we need to prove setting the edge. And he's not talking about TJ or Highsmith because they're pretty good at setting the edge. So who's left? It's Herbig.
No, Herbig is a good pass rusher, but
Right.
Not against the run. There's
This
a
is
big
the
difference.
problem of having Nick Herbig, which is if you have a Nick Herbig as your third edge rusher, where you know that he's unplayable in certain situations, then you kind of have to figure something out at your fourth edge rusher position. And that doesn't become like a special teamer. This is like Jack Sawyer is going to be a core player on this team because in rundowns on plays where TJ or Alex can't be out there. And we talked about it earlier, right? Which is like, this is kind of a shitty situation to be in because this fourth round pick could have been a slot corner, could have been a future wide receiver, could have been a safety for the future. Hell, could have been an outside corner, right? Could have been a depth on the offensive line.
Could have been Torrey Horton.
Yeah.
Guys,
What's your take on? Okay,
I got to go.
All right.
Okay.
I don't want to lose my job.
Right.
All right. Yeah, we should probably wrap up. We'll get to undrafted free agents another time. Tony, thanks a lot for coming on. Really appreciate it. Love your stuff as always, man. You're welcome to come on this podcast anytime.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
If you want to be semi-retired, let me know.
I did like this. This was good. This was like cathartic. You know, I think maybe we need to do this like once every 6 months. I just got to get it all, get it all out, and then we go back to being a fan. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
But I appreciate you guys having me on. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you for being on. Guys in the chat, as always, you were great. Plenty of questions, plenty of good stuff. Hit that subscribe button for us and the like button. Spread the word. The podcast is doing well. We want to keep this going. Am I missing anything, Bob, before we get out of here?
No, just like, subscribe, share. Obviously, right now with the draft, we're just going to be doing Mondays and Thursdays for right now.
Yeah.
As we get closer to the season, maybe training camp, maybe we'll try to figure out and experiment with another, Sunday afternoon type of deal.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Steel Sanctuary podcast.
Well, he's not weird or anything, is he?
No. No, he's totally normal.
I think you should be working at the snack bar. You better relax, Bob.
I mean, normal for us.
All right, let's go. Now you've had enough.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Okay. Crazy guy. I'm gonna go home now.